Welcome to another episode of Remember the Great Sports. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different because I'm going to be sharing with you and remembering the former video store called Family Video. And there's my kitty cat assisting with the videography for this episode. So, from what you can tell from the title, Family Video was a video store based out of the Midwest in Illinois, and at their peak they were a competitor with Blockbuster Video and had over 800 stores nationwide and including Canada. Well, this past year with the pandemic, the company decided to close many of the stores prior to the pandemic, and after the pandemic of 2019 and 2020, it was announced in early of January of 2021 that Family Video would officially be closing down after over 30 years of being in business and shutting down and liquidating all of their stores. So, this is just a simple shopping bag from Family Video, and this is a recyclable bag that when I signed up to become a member there many years ago, we got this nice little nifty sack for being a member. Well, the reason I'm sharing this video with you is Family Video this past week, where I live in Missouri, closed down. Now, I don't know if there's a few more still open, but from what I understand, they pretty much liquidated everything out and they were closing everything down by March, but I could be wrong. So definitely take a look at your location to see if they're officially closed, because what I'm about to show you, your jaw will drop. Well, to give you a little bit of a background, about 2 weeks ago I went into the store and they had some decent deals. You know, movies were no less than $1, no more than $3, per movie or game. And my wife and I went there, picked out a few television shows, and picked out, some TV series for $3 or $4 a piece. I also bought, 3 video games, and, we spent a few bucks. Well, I said, hey, let's wait a week and we'll come back and see if the prices drop. Well, that's exactly what happened. We came back a week later, and we went to the store, and they said, well, yesterday everything was $1, but today everything's 25 cents. So, this is what came out of the 25-cent purchase on that day, minus the video games. My wife and I filled this entire, well, I guess we didn't fill it, but we halfway filled this entire box of Blu-rays and DVDs. So, this is not necessarily a sports-themed episode, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you the sports movies first, so that way if that's all you wanted to watch in this episode, you can clearly shut it off after I show you the sports DVDs. But I'm going to show you my haul. I'm not necessarily going to show you the pile of movies my wife picked out. She's the one there. That's her stack. The rest of these are either our stack or my stack. Obviously Star Wars being mine. Walking Dead is kind of a neutral stack. And with True Detective there, those are all TV shows, where I got Bad News Bears and Brewster's Million as well. So there's going to be a lot of editing in this, so just stay with me, but we're going to jump into the sports videos right after I show you the few video games that I picked up as well. Alright, so I'm just going to get these out of the way real quick. I picked up these 3 video games, and these were, 3 for $10 or something like that the first day. And none of these 3 games are anything exceptional, but they're worth $3. I mean, they're not great, but they're not good, would be the best way to describe it. Now, the crappy thing about me picking these up is they had probably 15 to 20 Xbox One games, and the same for PS4. And I picked and choose these 3 out of those, 30 plus games. Well, come to find out, the week after I came back, this was a week later after I bought them, the same cashier or employee was there, and she informed me that on that Monday, I was there on a Saturday, on that Monday, they dropped all the games to $1 a piece. And I said, well, if I would have known you're going to do that on Saturday, I would have offered you $2 for every game and bought every one from you. And she's like, well, we probably would have sold them all to you for $2 each. And I'm like, well, that's great. And I'm not talking crap sports titles. They had those, no doubt. But I mean, they actually had decent non-sports games there, and she said they all sold for $1 a piece. And oh my gosh, I was like, I cannot believe I missed that. So, not to talk about the games, let me move on to the sports movies that I promised you. Alright, so we're going to get the sports stack out of the way. I'm going to talk about my first buy and my second buy. This first stack, these were like $2 to $3 each, I want to say. And this is Ballers Season 1, 2, and 3. And we paid $2 each season, basically, which I thought was a steal. So I grabbed those right up. Now this next batch comes from the 25-cent batch. Okay? And this one's kind of a semi-sports movie, but not really. And that's Brewster's Million. Now, of course, one of the greatest football movies ever, Rudy. Basketball movie, Blue Chips. And let's not forget the Bad News Bears, Breaking Training. And the Bad News Bears Go to Japan. These were all $1 a piece. And I already have the original Bad News Bears, but for 25 cents each, I couldn't resist. Additionally, I upgraded from VHS on the Scout for 25 cents. And I also found $1 Million Arm for 25 cents on Blu-ray. So not a bad pickup of sports movies. Now, if you're no longer interested in movies that are non-sports, you can stop right now. But if you want to see everything else I picked up, stay with me. Alright, so I'm not going to show you the movies that my wife picked up because that could be another 15 minutes of video. But what I am going to show you is my first day of purchases, which none of these items were any more than $1 to $3 at most, and those are for the seasons. Then we're going to jump into that box for strictly 25-cent purchases. So we'll just jump into the seasons first here. And I got the Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles. I also picked up Boardwalk Empire, the 4th season. And that's a generic case, but I got a Blu-ray case as well to keep them in. I have seasons 1 through 3 on Blu-ray, so I only paid a couple bucks for the next season. And I also picked up season 5 on DVD. So those are the seasons that I got. These were only like $2 a piece. Now these next ones were all $1. And again, this is before they dropped to $0.25. Kind of a psychological thriller, Frailty. It's actually a pretty decent movie. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I recommend it. I'm not positive, but this might be the last Wes Craven movie before he passed away. Don't chew me up, horror fans, if I'm wrong. But I know it's towards the end of Wes Craven's brilliant movie career. My soul to take. This isn't a great movie, but it's one of those teenage high school psychodrama horror flicks, and it's, you know, not the most best movie ever, but for $1 I grabbed it. Also the movie The Bone Collector, which is based off of a novel. Also, I believe there's a television spin-off going on right now. Pretty decent movie for only $1. Now jumping into the Blu-rays, I got The Losers, which is loosely based off of a comic book. But it's very, very similar to this movie, The A-Team, which is kind of the same concept. It's a group of mercenaries that try to save the day, basically, and save the world. So those movies are very similar, and they came out around the same time. But for $1 a piece on Blu-ray, I couldn't pass it up. Richard Gere and Topher Grace in The Double. This is kind of an underrated Richard Gere movie. A lot of people don't know about. I'm not going to give it away and go through every movie that I show you because that would take all day. But it's a pretty neat movie. If you get a chance, check it out. If you get a chance to stream it. And finally, being I am a pretty big Greek mythology fan, I picked up Clash of the Titans as well as the sequel Wrath of the Titans. And I want to say that I paid $1 for Wrath and I paid a couple dollars for Clash. Why they were two different prices, I don't know. But I figured I can't buy part 2 without buying part 1. So I purchased them both. Now, moving forward, everything that I show you is a 25-cent purchase from hereafter. Alright, so for this first stack, these are kind of more the comic book themed movies. They're also more the my pile. My wife doesn't really care if I watch these with or without her. And again, these were all 25 cents. Hellboy on DVD. The original Resident Evil, based off of the video game, on DVD. One of the sequels, Resident Evil Retribution, on Blu-ray. Believe it or not, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 on Blu-ray, 25 cents. And The Dark Knight Rises for only 25 cents. Reign of the Superman, the cartoon. And The Death of Superman cartoon, which I think I have that already, but for 25 cents, I bought it again. So, not bad there. Alright, these are kind of the in-the-middle movies. A couple of them, and the other ones are, strictly me. Again, Highlander, the original Highlander. And unfortunately, this was like the Immortal Edition, and on the back, it says there was a bonus CD included. I did not get that bonus CD, which really would have rocked, because those songs by Queen are awesome in this movie. Alright, so this next one, The Unforgiven, a classic Western from back in the 90s, I want to say. I think Clint Eastwood directed this one. I know he acts in it, but I'm not sure if he directed it. But loaded with some of the greatest actors of our generation, Clint Eastwood, Gene Hackman, and Morgan Freeman. So, for $0.25, no doubt. Also, I picked up the newer release Glass for only 25 cents, which is the sequel to Unbreakable. I haven't watched this yet, so don't spoil it. Also, some classics here. Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield. This is kind of a short but sweet comedy from the late 80s, early 90s. It really isn't that great, but it does have some pretty funny stuff with Rodney Dangerfield. Also a very underrated movie from that era, With Honors, with Joe Pesci and Brendan Fraser. Very good story. I recommend checking this one out if you haven't seen it before. And finally, a movie called Criminal Activities with John Travolta and Michael Pitt. And I must say, I'm not going to ruin it, this wasn't a bad movie. For 25 cents on Blu-ray, I bought it. Alright, so moving on. Alright, so I'm going to fly through this really fast, okay? And I want to remind you, these were only 25 cents a season. So not per disc, but per season. I picked up a stack of Walking Dead DVDs. I got season 7. I also picked up season 9. I didn't have the case for it, so they just kept them in the cases like that. I picked up season 6. I picked up season 5. I picked up season 4. And I also picked up season 3. I already owned season 1. It was not there. Season 2, unfortunately, was not there. So I need season 2 to fill in the gaps, so to speak. Obviously, I don't have season 10 because that's the one they're showing. But I only paid 25 cents per season of The Walking Dead. I mean, I could not pass that up. Now, am I going to go sit down and watch every season of The Walking Dead? Absolutely not. But it's nice to know I only invested 25 cents into buying these. Okay, so this is another stack of television series. Again, these were only 25 cents per season, not per disc. True Detective, Season 1. True Detective, Season 2. And True Detective, Season 3. All for 25 cents each. Alright, so the next one, Better Call Saul, Season 1. Better Call Saul, Season 2, without the case. Homeland, Season 1, and I've never watched Homeland before, so I'm excited about that. Randomly, Game of Thrones, Season 3, which I know it's Season 3, so that kind of stinks. I never got into this series, but I'm looking forward to it. Narcos, Season 1, Season 2, and Season 3. So I don't know much about Narcos, but I'm looking forward to it. Fargo, Season 1. And this one's for my wife, Wahlburgers, Season 1. So one of my wives did pop in here. But bottom line is, these were only 25 cents a piece. Okay, and last and certainly not least, these were up sitting on a table near the cash register when we were checking out. And I didn't realize they were there because we were just looking on the rack, seeing what they had, and these are just sitting out there. And I said, well, are these for sale too? And they're like, sure. So I seriously went through and I picked up on Blu-ray, it says DVD, but it is a Blu-ray, Star Wars, The Phantom Menace, Episode 1. Star Wars, Episode 2 on Blu-ray. And again, I know it doesn't say Blu-ray, but they are, trust me. Unfortunately, they didn't have a case for Episode 3, but there it is on Blu-ray. So you're like, cool, you got the second trilogy, so to speak. Well, guess what? A New Hope on Blu-ray and Return of the Jedi on Blu-ray. No Empire Strikes Back, unfortunately. But how can we forget the new releases? The Force Awakens. Again, it says Blu-ray. It is a Blu-ray. This one is just a DVD on The Last Jedi. And Rogue One is also just a DVD. 25 cents a piece for the almost entire Star Wars collection. All I need to do is track down The Empire Strikes Back on Blu-ray, then I'll have almost the entire collection of Star Wars movies. So, I'm not going to show you the mess I just created around me here, but the last thing I want to say is Family Video was a great, great place. I'm going to miss it dearly. I understand we have to change with the times. You know, everybody streams now. People don't go to movie stores and, you know, look for physical copies of movies, especially with the virus and the pandemic going on. But I want to thank you for joining me for this episode. This is kind of my last tribute to Family Video. I know it's not completely sports related, but if you did see the sports videos that I showed right at the kind of 4-minute mark of this video, I did pick up some pretty nice sports movies as well. But thank you for joining me for another episode. I look forward to your comments below. Again, check locally to see if your Family Video is still open. If they are, get down there and try to pick up what you can for 25 cents. Thanks for watching.